Okay, we're going to explore the mixer this time. So the mixer button is the second button down on the right in the control section, which is the top left-hand corner. So just push that button.
Mixer. Snare jazz up, level 0.0 dB.
And in the mixer, the controls are a little different to previous views. So we're on the buttons,
Screen button zone.
screen button zone, and I'm just going to go through.
1 kick jazz up 1 on. 2 snare jazz up. 3 closed HH jazz up 1. 4 open HH jazz up. 5 kick jazz up 2. 6 clap jazz up. 7 closed HH jazz up 2. 8 shaker jazz up.
Okay, so these are the names of the samples or sounds on the pads within this group. Now if I push button 8, this is bank right.
Bank right off. 1 hit M jazz up. 2 stab C jazz up. 3 hit M jazz up. 4 chord piano A jazz up 1. 5 chord Rhodes D jazz up. 6 SFX jazz up. 7 bass A jazz up 1. 8 bass A jazz up 2.
Okay, so that's the second set of 8 sounds in that group. So I'm just going to press control button 7.
Bank left off.
Which is bank left off. Okay, if I go down to the screen knobs.
Non-interact screen knob zone. 1 kick jazz up 1, level 0.0 dB. 2 snare jazz up, level 0.1 dB. 3 closed HH jazz up 1, level -7.8 dB. 4 open HH jazz up, level -6.2 dB.
Okay, and you can see you've got all the levels there. So when you want to mix the levels of a sample within a group, this is a good place to go because you can mix any of the levels regardless of which pad is currently selected. Okay, now this is where it gets a little different. The 4D encoder, if you push the 4D encoder up,
Groups focused.
it says groups focused. So if we go back up to the buttons, the screen buttons.
Non-inter screen button zone. 1 jazz up kit on. 2 create group.
Okay, so you can see this is where the groups would be listed. We've only got one group loaded at the moment. But if you had 8 groups, they would be across those 8 buttons. If you had multiple banks of groups, then you'd use the buttons 7 and 8 in the control area to bank left and right within those groups. And you press the screen buttons to select focus on any of those groups. Okay, so as I've only got the one, so I can only press button 1.
Jazz up kit on.
It says jazz up kit on. Now if I press down on the 4D encoder,
Sounds focused.
it says sounds focused.
1 kick jazz up 1 on.
And we're back to where he was originally. Now if I turn the encoder, it doesn't actually say anything, but if I go down to the screen knobs.
Non-interactive screen knob zone. 1 kick jazz up 1, level 0.5 dB. 1 1.0 dB. 2 snare jazz up, 1 kick jazz up 1, level 1.0 dB.
Okay, so I've increased that. So if I turn it down to again,
0.0 dB.
Okay, so I've reset that back to 0 dB. Now if I move the 4D encoder to the right,
Snare jazz up. Closed HH jazz up 1.
we can change the selection from the 4D encoder. So I'm just going to move it back to the left.
Snare jazz up. Kick jazz up 1.
Okay, so that's another way of selecting which sound is currently in focus. So you can either press one of the 8 screen buttons, or you can use left and right on the 4D encoder, or you can just press a pad and that would select it. Now if you wanted to change the panning for a channel, you push the encoder in.
Sounds focused.
Okay, it said sounds focused. Now if I turn the encoder, it doesn't actually say anything, but if I review the screen knobs,
1 kick jazz up 1, pan, 2R.
it says 2R.
2 snare jazz up. 1 kick jazz up 1, pan, 3R.
Right, I'm just going to turn it back the other way.
1 C. 2 snare jazz up, pan, C. 1 kick jazz up 1, pan, C.
Okay, back to center. And what's interesting is when you press the encoder, it doesn't automatically update these values until you change a value.
Sounds focused.
So it says sounds focused.
Screen knob zone. 1 kick jazz up 1, pan, C.
Right, it says pan C. But if I turn the encoder,
2 snare jazz up, 1 kick jazz up 1, level, minus 0.5 dB. 10.0 dB.
okay, so when I push the encoder, it switches between level and pan, but it doesn't actually tell you that it's which one it's on. And the values on the 8 knobs for the screen knobs don't actually update until a value is changed. So it can be a little bit confusing, but that's how that works. You've also got mute and solo, and to manage the mute and solo while you're in sounds, you push and hold either the mute, which is the 8th button.
Mute on.
It says mute on, and then you can push any of the 8 buttons along the top to mute that channel, or you can push solo, which is the next one up from the bottom, and again you can push one of the 8 buttons. So if I just go up to the buttons,
Non-inter screen button zone. 1 solo kick jazz up 1 on. 2 solo snare jazz up. 3 solo closed HH jazz up 1.
see, and if I press the mute,
Mute on. 4 mute open HH jazz up. 5 mute kick jazz up 2.
okay, and that's pretty much the mixer.